Welcome. Do
How's
we
it
need to
going?
be this close? No. Okay. So second episode, just kind of winging it, but figured I'd bring in the guy that's doing it with me. Do we look alike?
I think so.
Yeah.
You gotta get a hat on. It would help.
Do you think we look alike, Femi? A little bit. Yeah. I got my brother on the show, so he's a lot of times we get called twins. He's a little bit smaller, a little less attractive, and he's 2 years older. So we actually met Femi, who interviewed me on the last one. We met at a meetup. What was that, March? At Katy Trail Ice House, the GOAT.
Good place.
Yeah, he was hosting.
Good tunes there.
Yeah, he was hosting the event for a real estate network, and my buddy was like, "Hey, we should go to this because he's a mortgage broker." And so we went, and then Femi's like, "Yeah, I do my own social media." I was like, "I might need you eventually." So now we're somehow here making a podcast, and he's filming our stuff, and we're just winging it. So got Alex on for the second one, but Alex is basically that day. I think that when we met you was right after we were both getting started. I'd been doing it for a little bit, and then Alex was doing his 9-to-5 job, and I was like, "Hey, you should look into this real estate stuff." But I know the story, but I'll just show how he actually got started in real estate and is now doing it full time with me. So when we were there, though, I think, were you still doing your job?
Yeah, because that was right after I'd done one deal at that time.
Okay.
So it was like right after first deal closed, I believe.
Yeah. So I guess we could jump right into it. Your first deal. So you were doing, I guess, what were you doing for work before then?
So I was working for an investments company. So we were doing stocks and bonds, no mutual funds, anything like that, just institutional, individual investments. So I was working in portfolio management, doing all the analysis for prospective clients, comparing their portfolio to our portfolio, and then sending it off to someone that was making a lot more money than I was.
Yeah. So you said making a lot more, like the sales guys, or?
Yeah, sales guys.
So you're just getting it prepared, sending it to the sales guy. They make the deal, and you just get paid.
Yeah, so we were doing the analysis. So, I mean, we'd have to actually figure out kind of what was going on, and you would show them, hey, like, there's an inefficiency here, and here, and walk them through it. But they're the ones actually doing the sales pitch. But,
right.
Yeah, portfolio management for investments company.
Okay. And you've been doing that the last 2 years out of college?
Yeah, so right out of school, started, I think, 2 days after I got back home from school, and then did it for basically right on the dot 2 years.
No way.
Yeah.
Boomer Sooner. Yeah. We both went to OU. So he graduated in 2020. I was in 2022. But so he was doing that for 2 years, and then I got into the wholesale thing, which y'all heard on the last episode, but started going more into real estate. And then I guess how'd you get out of – you said you were doing that the first – doing that job when we met him at the meetup, but You said you got your first deal. I guess how'd you get into real estate, and what was your first deal like?
Yeah, so just joining a network, I think we joined that, early March. Really started getting going on that in late March, early April. So I was just cold calling, pre-foreclosures, FSBOs, which is for sale by owner. So my first deal, I was cold calling pretty late at night, like after dinner, got in contact with some people from San Antonio, walked them through the process of how they could stop a foreclosure, and basically just got them to a point where they were like, hey, I need to sell. Mm-hmm. Ran the numbers, so figured out what the house was worth if it was fixed up, what repairs needed to be done, sold them over the phone saying, hey, I can get you, I think we settled on $91,000. And then I know you helped me with the contract. At this point, we didn't really know how to do a contract, which was kind of funny because we have contracts that we can write in a minute now.
Yeah.
So we were doing that on the computer, I remember, but ended up wholesaling that. I think we got it. I can't remember the final price, but I know I walked away with $16,600. So it came down from like $22,000 at the last second, but ended up making pretty good money for a first deal, just over the phone. Never saw the house.
Yeah,
nothing.
So you're in Dallas, and this deal was in San Antonio.
Yeah.
So you said pre-foreclosure list. A lot of people don't realize, I guess, like where to find these lists. How do you call them? How many calls did it take? So you said you joined a network. I talked about that a little bit. So we joined that network. They kind of showed us a little bit, like, how do we find these deals? But I guess, where did you find a pre-foreclosure list? What were you calling on, and how many calls did it take to get there?
Yeah, so I mean, we'll pull some from just straight from the county website. We'll skip trace it on DealMachine, which is just a app website that you can use to
not a sponsor yet, but maybe one day.
Yeah, hopefully soon. This was from Real Estate IQ, so we pull lists from there. You can do pre-foreclosures, absentee, or I guess evictions, substitute trustees, all that stuff. So I just had a list from there. It was cold calling. Probably at that point I was doing a few hours a day, so it was probably like 150 dials a day.
Are you putting this on your phone, or are you doing like are you typing in these numbers every single time from this list?
Oh no, so we download it, or I download it into a spreadsheet, upload it to our CRM. So we use Main Street REI. Goes into a dialer, so it's just dial. They don't answer. It leaves a voicemail. I'll send a text message. Click to the next one.
So you're just pressing next to each lead, and you're going through the pre-foreclosure list.
Right.
House comes up in San Antonio. Was it like a wife that answered? Was it?
Yeah, I think it was a wife, and then their husband was kind of in the background. She was definitely running the show, which was pretty funny, telling him what's going on.
Yeah.
But she was the one that had bought the house originally, and then they got remarried. She got remarried, so I think he didn't have too much involvement in the property.
Right. So whenever you got a hold of her, how long until the auction date? Meaning, like, if they, didn't sell it or catch it up, when were they going to lose the house?
It was pretty close. I think they were about 2.5, 3 weeks out. So I was definitely pressing the urgency there, and she kind of understood that. I'm like, hey, if you guys don't have I think they were behind like $20,000. I'm like, if you don't have that, like, you got to get rolling on this now, because it takes time to buy a house, to do all the title work. She didn't have a valid ID, so luckily it wasn't a lot of time, which that happens a lot with folks in foreclosure. So we had to figure out how to get her a new ID, because you got to have that to close on the house.
Right.
So it was about 3 weeks out, I think.
3 weeks out from the auction date. So basically, that was kind of like the urgency. How'd you know you said you bought it at $91,000? Did you have $91,000 in your bank account?
No, I did not at that point. Not even close.
Yeah. So this is what's crazy about wholesaling, and people see this all the time, is like, he's coming in saying, hey, I'll buy your house for $91,000 cash. He doesn't have $91,000, but he knows that that's a good deal, and that he has a buyer, right, buying it at more. So you found her on this list. I guess she was behind 20,000. How'd you know that you could offer her 91?
Yeah. So what I did is, while I'm talking to people on the phone, I have a few different websites open. So I'll have HAR, HAR.com, Chase Home Value, Privy, which you have to pay for. You can use Zillow, whatever. So I figured out, comparable houses, same bed, bath, all that stuff, fixed up would sell for X amount.
Do you remember what that fixed up value was?
I could do the math in my head. I mean, it's probably like 190, I think was what it was.
So houses that were selling in good condition were selling for 190?
Yeah. It's definitely an older part of northeast or southeast San Antonio, Kirby, San Antonio. So I just did the math, figured out, hey, does it need a new roof? Does it need one of the main 5? So new roof, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, foundation. Definitely needed cosmetics, so bathroom, all that stuff. Did 70% of that fixed up value, subtracted out repairs, and then said, hey, like, I can get you 91. That's about as much as I can get you.
So if we're looking at, you said 70% of that number minus repairs. So 190 times 0.7. Let's see what that is. If you, any good math people, 133, and minus the repairs. So you said, okay, it's like a 1,200 square foot house. Yeah. This is going to be this much in cosmetics. You come down, you work her down to 91. Say, okay, this is what we have to do to make it make sense, right? She says, what? Okay. She's just like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was good that they had a lot of equity. I mean, she had been there for 17 years. So I think the payoff was, which meaning how much was left on the mortgage. I think it was like 65 or 70.
Okay. And she even knew, after her back payments?
Yeah, after the back payments. So, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot left on the mortgage.
Right.
And she knew, like, hey, like, I know what you're doing. Like, you have to make money too.
Yeah.
I had to do a little bit of convincing there as well, because everyone thinks their house is worth more than it is, and the condition's a lot nicer because it's subjective.
No way.
It's subjective, yeah. Like, my house is awesome. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So is that like comparable to like a term like ARV?
ARV, yeah. So after repair value, ARV, fixed up value, fair market value, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It's anonymous.
So 70% of ARV after repair value minus repairs. And you said, okay, 90,000, you get her that. How'd you know that you could sell it for more? Did you already have a buyer?
So I had a contact at basically a brokerage firm essentially. And so I knew that, hey, they're going to buy something at 80% of ARV minus repairs. So if I can get it at 70% of ARV minus repairs, I'll make that 10% spread there.
Okay.
Especially in an area that's, pretty decent area.
Right. It's
not like it's out in the boonies or anything.
Okay. So you lock it up, you go, and this is funny. So I do remember this now. It's crazy. This is March. He calls me. He's like, dude, I think he's getting home from work at what time? Like,
I get home at like 3 o'clock, go to the gym. So
okay.
I'm even starting to do the second job till probably 4:35.
Okay, so you got up at what time in the morning to go to your?
4:30.
Okay, so he's getting there right when the stock market opens, I guess. But
No, but yeah.
no, I don't know. But he's there early. He's back at 2. Go to the gym, so you get back at 3:30 or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you start cold calling.
Yeah,
What,
basically
like
just
2 hours a day, 3 hours a day.
I'd cold call until about 8:30 at night.
Okay,
So whatever, three and a half hours.
so you're getting back at 3.5 hours, and then I guess how many calls do you think it took to find this lady?
I know it was the second or third time I had called her.
Called her.
Yeah, because I have it repeating. So I'll call someone, it'll wait a few days, and I'll call them back.
Okay, so she didn't answer their first 2 calls.
No. So that's usually how it is it takes a few times to get in touch with someone. So,
Right,
I mean,
right.
what is it, like the 5th, 12th time is usually when you
Yeah.
actually get in touch with somebody.
When you close it, right?
Yeah, when you close it. Yeah. So I had called her a few times. She hadn't answered. She actually picked up this time. Talked to her for a while and just got her to the point where like, hey, I got to sell this thing.
Right. How many days? Like you're new into wholesaling. This is your first deal. You're coming back from work, and you just say, "I'm going to cold call." Like how many days into it was that?
It's probably a week and a half, 2 weeks. So it was pretty quick
2 weeks?
actually. Yeah.
2 weeks into it.
Yeah.
But you had a nice setup, right? You had a CRM. You had the lists. You kind of invested into yourself, right? You paid for the list
Right.
a little bit, nothing crazy, but so you have a system set up, and then 2 weeks later you get that deal. So
Yep.
you were calling for 2 weeks, pretty much nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. I had one other lead that I had sent you, I know, that we ended up closing
Yeah.
on in College Station, which
Yeah.
that was like a 4-month process. But
Talk
that
about
was-
touches. That was probably 25 touches before we close that. And I'll loop
5 touches. It was taking you 20 touch points.
for this other one.
for
that I
another
was
one.
talking
We'll
about,
loop
yeah.
it back to this
Yeah.
because this is crazy. I'll start with his first deal, but yeah. His another deal we ended up closing on 3 months later. That he got. But anyway, so 2 weeks of calling, you're probably getting leads here and there, but eventually after 2 weeks, you got one under contract. We're scrambling over to your apartment. How do I sign this contract? Let alone, I'm pretty new at this too, because my first couple deals I did with Grant, like I said. So I hadn't I'd seen the contract. I hadn't written it all myself. So I'm looking at my first deal that I closed probably.
You were copying that. thing, I
Yeah,
remember
probably
that.
a few weeks prior. And I go over to his apartment and I'm like, okay, here's what it is on this one. They're both cash contracts. We're closing in 2 weeks. And I'm just copying like this checkbox, this address, switch this out, put this as the close date. And we're like scrambling here. We don't know how to work DocuSign.
Template.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know how to work DocuSign. We don't know how to do
With the free
Adobe.
DocuSign at that point.
Yeah.
So run out of space to actually send stuff.
We're calling Grant. Grant's trying to close other deals, and he's just like, we're wasting his time, and we're just like, okay, we'll figure this out. Meanwhile, we're telling this lady like, hey, it's on the way. It's on the way. It's 9:30 at night, and we're like, we have to get this under contract tonight, or else she's gonna wake up in the morning and
Forget that we
Yeah.
even spoke.
right, she's gonna talk to another investor, and it's gonna be gone. So like, we're scrambling over there. We get it sent over. We hop her on the phone. She completes it. She kind of was a contract reader, I think, too. She ended up reading through it for a little bit, but I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
we got her to sign. So I'm over there at his apartment, kind of helping him out. We have no idea what someone's going to buy this at. We just say we got it at a number that makes sense, and then we shoot it over to that contact at basically there's a huge brokerage that buys houses. Sorry, we had a quick intermission, but basically you're saying you're calling them, how many touches it took. It was the first call, right?
Second call, first time to answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were talking about the buyer though. So how'd you find the buyer? You had this locked up at 91,000. I guess, what did you end up getting it sold at?
So I don't know exact because they sell it to another person for a higher price. So basically, we had it locked in where I would get, I think it was $22,000.
So this next person was buying it at
Yeah.
whatever, 22,000 higher than 90.
Yeah. So the assignment was set up for me to make 22. The buyer at the end buyer, right before closing, ended up trying to get it down. I just told them
Okay.
like, hey, like let's just get it over with.
Right. And it's a little confusing because basically what we've done is we had a network, a guy that's a huge wholesale company, right? So they have thousands and thousands of buyers, whereas we're brand new. So many people are worried about how do I find a buyer, right? And we know with this contact, if they buy it at 79, 80% of ARV, we know they're going to wholesale it again. This is what this brokerage does, but their volume. So they're just locking it up from us. They find a buyer for $5,000 more and they get it done. But we know they can find a buyer. So that's what we did for our first couple of deals. So he's just saying he was originally going to make 22. He ended up dropping it down to what, 16?
16.6 was the final.
So you make 16,000. I think a lot of people that are listening to this that don't know about wholesaling or real estate, like you get this under contract for 91. Why did you not have to bring any money, and what did you put down? Like, how does that work when you're signing a contract?
Yep. So you can put down earnest money and option money. So I put down $10 earnest money, $10 option money. So it costs earnest money is just to lock in the contract to make it valid.
Okay.
Option money is if you back out. So if I have a 30-day option period for me, the buyer, to back out of the contract, if I back out, the seller or the homeowner gets that $10. So it's just if I back out of the contract, they're going to walk.
$10 in option money?
$10 in option money, yeah. So if it's a foreclosure and it's a house that's beat up, whatever, like we're not going to put down a bunch of money on the house.
And I think a lot of people don't realize is these people, they don't know. You're the expert, right? They have no idea what option period is, earnest money, right? Obviously, you don't ever want to screw someone over. We're helping them stop a foreclosure, and we're finding them a buyer they never would have had access to, right? Let alone she made like what, 20 grand in this transaction. Yeah. So she
which is a lot for a foreclosure.
Right. Not only did she make 20 grand, she stopped the foreclosure, saved her credit. She actually got an extra, how much time did you give her as a leaseback?
I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks. I messed it up. I originally had it at 2 months. Didn't realize that that's a huge no-no.
Yeah.
Worked her down to a month, and then worked her down to like 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah. So essentially he put it in there. He's like, oh yeah, you can stay for a couple months, not realizing that the buyer doesn't want that. So he gave her he gave her like an extra 3 weeks just to stay in the home after that close day. So not only did she stop the foreclosure, she now got 20 grand, and she got an extra 3 weeks to help relocate.
Right.
But
leaseback just means, so whenever the closing date is, let's say it was May 2nd. May 2nd it closes. They have 3 weeks after May 2nd to get out of the place.
Right, because that buyer is now the owner on May 2nd. But we had a contract in place saying, hey, for 3 weeks she can stay there, but she has to get out by that.
And what's important there, too, is you do a holdback. So at closing, they're not going to walk away with that $20,000. They're going to walk away with $15,000. So we did a $5,000 holdback. So if they decide to squat, they're not going to get that $5,000. And then there's also, if they stay longer than the 3 week period, it's $250-day late fee.
It's all getting in the weeds, kind of unnecessary, but just saying he helped her out, right? The big thing is he puts $10 down. Right? When you buy a house on the market with a realtor, they're expecting you to put 1% of the purchase price. So if you're going to buy a house on the market and it's a $300,000 house, they want to see $3,000 as earnest money to prove that you're serious about buying this. When we're dealing with someone off market, we're just putting $10, right? And it's like, I'm sending this in. Well, no, we have to make the contract valid. So title company needs earnest money to start title commitment and open it up. So we send them in $10 with the option and $10 with the earnest. So we're $20 in. He closes, he gets it under contract. The buyer closes, right? So this buyer now brings the full 116 or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Alex gets paid the difference at closing, and then the seller gets the 91. And then he actually gets refunded his $10 earnest money.
$16,000.
Yeah, for $20.
Putting down $20.
Yeah.
You got the $20 back.
That's some good ROI right there.
Yeah, so basically that's what people don't really realize. You're putting down $10 essentially to make 15, 20, 30, or get into this next part, $100,000. So the right conversation you can find with wholesaling is so crazy because like most of these deals aren't, you can make 10, 20, 30. If you're good at negotiating, you know what the deal is and you have premium buyers. It's pretty typical. I think our average deal is probably around $20,000. But his second deal is what really made this crazy and what made him go full time into real estate is you got this first one cold calling. You're calling pre-foreclosures. And now he's like, okay, I get a little taste of it. What you're making, what were you making annually in your other job?
Gross probably like 70.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 70,000.
Everything, bonus, all that stuff, yeah.
So 70,000 a year. He makes 16,000 on this one deal in 2 weeks. And then I guess you're cold calling every day. So what were you doing? Your daily routine? We kind of saw you were going to work, you're coming back, you're cold calling.
You fit that in your schedule.
Yeah.
Just grind. It's really just, wake up at 4:30 to go to work because I go to work at 6, come back home, work out, eat dinner if you eat dinner, but just cold calling most of the time. And then on the weekends, I was not really knocking doors yet because I hadn't really done that, and I just wasn't comfortable going through the foreclosure process. So I would go driving for dollars, which is just go to neighborhoods, try to find a house that looks distressed, leave a note, mark it down, find their phone number, whatever it is, and that's how I got the second deal.
Yeah. So
you know which places to drive to? Like, they just drive anywhere? Like,
you
can't look for wholesale deals in Highland Park.
Yeah. That's true. So you gotta find the right place. So if you're in an area that's just all the houses are run down, they're all run down. That might be a place to put up a bandit sign. I would try to go to neighborhoods that are nice neighborhoods and look for properties that are distressed. So maybe someone had just been behind on their payments and they're not taking care of their yard. So like the yard's overgrown, maybe there's shingles missing, whatever it is. Leave a note on that house and then try to find their information when you get back home.
So you're driving for dollars. How long after this was your first deal were you driving? You were doing this on the weekends?
Yeah.
Okay.
Saturday mornings.
So you're doing this on the weekend. I guess what house did, skip past this? He gets $100,000 deal, right? How did you find this? You said you're driving for dollars. So you're in what area and what did you do to get the deal?
Yeah. So just essentially northeast downtown Dallas. So over across the highway from SMU.
Okay.
So like 1960s neighborhood, nice houses that a lot of them had been fixed and flipped. And I was just driving through, saw a house that was for sale by owner, ended up talking to that guy for a while, and they wanted way too much money. Two houses down, I was like, something's up there. Like, obviously no one was in the house, like notes from bug guys, roof guys on the door. So I just left a note saying, hey, like, call me. I would interested in the house. Guy calls me. He's like, yeah. Like,
how long after that did he call you?
Might have been the same day, I think, actually.
Really?
Or maybe the day after on Sunday, but it was quick. Called me and said, hey, like, yeah, I'm the executor of the estate, meaning the homeowner had passed away. He was the one doing the probate process. He's like, yeah, come take a look. So I went over there, took a look, went through the numbers with him. So same thing, 70% of ARV minus repairs. Walked him through. I'm like, hey, we're going to have to spend probably $150,000 to get this house fixed up because it would 1960s gut it down to the studs. So, I mean, I built good rapport with him. He's a good old country guy. So we're talking about hunting, whatnot.
Yeah.
So built good rapport with him. I offered a lot lower than what other people were offering, but he liked me. So he's like, hey, like, I know I have higher offers. If you can get to this price, like, I'll sell it to you instead of the other guys. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll go up to that price.
So you had it originally. Do you remember what you offered originally?
Offered $430.
$430. So the ARV on this you saw is like
$850-ish.
$850 or so.
Yeah.
House is obviously run down. You offer what'd you say? $430.
Yeah.
And you're talking to for a while. He likes you. He had other offers, probably because the probate, whatever. He's talking to investors.
People knocking on the door. Yeah.
Okay. So what did he say you needed to get to?
At first he said like 440, and I was like, I don't know if I can do that, and kind of just pushed him away. And then he came back to me. I hadn't talked to him. He's like, all right, I want to sell it to you. Like, can you do 465? Like, I knew I could do 465, so I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. Got it under contract.
It's actually so crazy to think now that you were shying him away at 440. But I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is like a pullback. Like, obviously you want to say, hey, I'm interested in buying this house. But if they think you're just throwing your money at everyone, they realize they can work you up, right? It's like, oh, I mean, if that doesn't make sense for us, we'll point you in another direction. Yeah. But you say no at first. He comes back to 465, and I mean, ARV of 850. That sounds pretty.
Yeah, and I had told him that actually. I'm like, hey, I got other projects I'm working on, so like, you got to get back to me.
Right. So you push a little urgency.
Yeah, urgency there.
Okay. So he says 465, and you say, yeah, I can make that work.
Yep.
Okay. And you don't have 465,000 in your bank account.
No.
Okay. So the same thing. You get under contract. What, $10 option point?
I did, and then he read the contract. His wife somehow works in a law firm, so she took a look at it, and she's like, can you go up to $1,000 earnest money? And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
And still $10 option.
Right. This is where people that are more familiar, right, they know, okay, if he's only putting $10, why is he serious about buying this? The wife pointed it out. He's like, okay, I'll put down 1,000. So he puts down 1,000 earnest money, showing, hey, we're going to close on this. And he does have to put in $1,000 now, right? But now he's got a contract for 465 to buy the house. And now you're looking at this, okay, the house is worth $850. You have pictures of it. How'd you find a buyer? What was your next step?
Yeah, so I'd originally tried to go through that same brokerage firm, and I was going to make probably 70 on that. And I was like, I know I can make more money. Like, it's a great area, Dallas. So what I did is reached out to a network we're in, posted all the pictures, details there. I had people that were going to get it for about, I would have made 140 on it, but I didn't really know them that well. So I was like, I don't know if they have proof of funds, whatnot. Ran into a lady that's also in our network. She lives in Allen. Brought her over to the house. She's like, I've flipped this exact same house in Richardson, Texas before. Like, do not show anyone else this house. I'll buy it. And I was like, all right, great. So I took a haircut on it. Didn't make as much as I could have, but I mean, you still made $100,000.
So she bought it at
565.
Okay,
yeah.
And you had people offering 600-ish.
Like 603 was the highest offer.
603,
yeah, which is what the house across the street sold for. This was in Dallas.
So it's near SMU, like
across 75.
Yeah,
it's the same house you're talking about.
Yeah, she had flipped a house with the same floor plan. in Richardson. So she knew exactly what she was going to do, tear down this wall, put in a bathroom here. All
Right.
that's it.
And
So
she
you're
was
in the house. You're talking to the person at the SMU house.
Yep.
The older guy.
Mhm.
How did this lady come in the equation?
She was just in our network. I had kind of advertised it as, hey, I'm trying to wholesale this thing. She's like, I want to take a look at it. She's great at what she does, like high-end fix and flips. And she's like, hey, can I come see the house? So I took her on a little tour of the house. And then once she was there, she's like, I want to lock this in.
we say network. We're in like after I got my first deal, I wanted to learn how to do this and kind of fast track the learning process. So I joined the network that Grant was in. So we paid to be a part of this group, which it's a one-time thing. You get the training, but really it's just you get access to now all these people that are doing fix and flips. They're wholesaling, they're investing, multifamily, commercial. So we have all the help we need, but we were able to, kind of bite the bullet at the beginning, pay that money, and just invest in ourselves to do that. So she's in that network. She says, hey, we know she's legit, right? Because she does these flips. We've seen it. And she says, I'll buy it for $565, right?
Yeah, she was. I worked her up to get it exactly at 100.
Okay. So yeah, she wanted a little bit less. He had people that were offering her 600, but he's like, hey, I'll let it go to you because you're within the network. Like I know you'll close on it, which is crazy because I probably, maybe bad, but it's like I probably would have gone for the 600. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for her, that's sweet. The numbers make sense. She flipped the house. It just got listed on the market, right?
Yeah, I mean, she's going to make over 6 figures as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you would have flipped that yourself, technically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would have made whatever, 250, 300 maybe.
But you didn't have to do anything, right? So you put $1,000 down. She paid $565. The 100 went to you. The extra, your $1,000 earnest money went back to you, and then the seller or whatever, the executor got paid, his $465.
Yep.
And then now what? You're just on to the next, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the cool thing about wholesaling is you didn't put in any money. Obviously, you put the earnest money.
Yeah.
But you're not flipping it. He didn't put any work to it.
$1,000 back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was $100,000 just straight to the bank account. I guess plus the $1,000 in earnest money.
101.
So kind of backtrack and walk us through your pre-ritual to like when you're going to go drop your dollars, you're going to go door knock. What are you looking for? What do you have prepped? Are you looking at the neighborhood and the comps before you go in? What is your list of questions you're asking people?
Yeah, so I guess driving for dollars, I mean, I'm not really knocking on doors too much. I'm just leaving notes. So I try to go to a neighborhood that I know is like a good neighborhood, but there's people that are old that are like trying to move, or maybe they passed away, or maybe it's just like older houses where there's equity, there might be like some sort of distress there. So like there's a neighborhood in South Dallas, I can't even remember, but it's on a golf course. So I've done that one. I've done the neighborhood that I got the house in. So, I mean, I'm just driving through there looking for anything that might be out of place. High grass, maybe a broken window, messed up, shingles, whatever. When you're knocking for pre-foreclosures, I mean, you have a list of, I'm hitting these 18, 25 houses on the pre-foreclosure list. I mean, there's a script essentially of what you're going through. Hey, like this house is on the list. What are you trying to do?
So you're just looking for distress. So you're just overgrown yard, people that can't keep up with the house, right? This one technically is vacant. Someone died. This guy inherited the house. So that's crazy. So you give $100,000, hit the bank account, and now I guess the big question is like, what do? I just made almost 2 times my annual salary in a month and a half.
Yeah. So that was when I kind of started thinking, like, man, like I enjoyed my job, but it gets to a point where like, is it worth it? Like I could be doing this full time and doing this the whole time, and you're making way more money. So I stayed my job for probably another month, but I told them, put in my 2 weeks. I was like, hey, like, I'm not doing this anymore. They're like completely blindsided. They're like, what are you trying to do? I'm like, well, I started doing real estate investing, wholesaling, and I'm making quite a bit more money in the last 2 months than what I would make in a year here. And I don't know if that ticked them off a little bit, but I think it probably did. But ended up just quitting that job about a month after that big deal.
So is it your boss, VP, is it that the guy you told that you were doing this? Okay.
Yeah.
Did he think that was cool, or was he kind of like?
Yeah, I mean, he's a cool dude. I was close with him. They were definitely a little bit blindsided because I was trying to move into a sales role pretty soon there. My actual boss wasn't. She was just like, I don't think she liked me either way. But yeah, the VP of the group was like, yeah, man, that's awesome. Like, happy for you. But I think they were a little bit blindsided by that. And then it doesn't matter.
Walk us through the emotions. Like, you just made more in a few months than you did at your job.
Yeah.
In a year.
The first one was cool. I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, it's proof of concept. The second one was, there's a little bit drama in that deal for sure. I almost lost it a few times. And then the private money lender, he had to sign a DocuSign and answer a phone call.
Who's this private money lender?
The private money lender for the lady that ended up buying it, so the end buyer. He forgot to answer the phone call, so the wire cut off is 3 p.m. Deal closed on a Friday. The guy's sitting there waiting for a check instead of a wire, and it hadn't gone through yet, so he's calling me, like, ripping me apart. Why haven't I gotten paid? And ends up going through, and I'm on the phone with Ben. Probably like 5 o'clock. It hits my bank account as I'm talking to him. I'm like, damn, like, it's pretty crazy. Like, the actual $100,000 just hit my bank account. Like, this is wild.
So for people who don't know private money, kind of dive into that.
Yeah, so that's like if we wanted to flip that project, right? So wholesaling, you don't really need any money or experience, right? But that lady, she doesn't have probably, I mean, maybe she does, right? But most flippers don't have 565.
Why use your own money anyway?
Yeah,
use someone else's?
laying in their bank account, right? So they have other people that have a ton of money, and they want to make a return on it because they're not, getting it in the stock market. So this lady went to a private money lender, said, hey, I need $565,000. I'll pay you probably 12% interest over the next 4 months and maybe 2 points up front, meaning a certain amount up front. So that private money lender is the one that's wiring it to the title company. But he didn't answer the phone whenever they went to close.
He wouldn't do a meeting,
Yeah, so his closing got like delayed a little bit, and the seller's, blowing up his phone saying, hey, why haven't I gotten funded yet? And then finally it funded, and the guy like chilled, and then Alex was like on the phone with me freaking out because he's like, this guy hasn't called yet. And he's like, oh, wait.
The guy thought I was like somehow scamming him. Like, dude, I'm telling you, you're gonna get your money. Like,
yeah,
it's gonna be all right.
Yeah, so there's nothing. It wasn't really gonna fall apart. The guy's just freaking out on Alex because he hasn't gotten his money yet.
It's his home we're talking about.
Yeah, and it wasn't. Yeah, he inherited it, but so that's crazy. So that, and then you put in, I guess, a couple weeks later, you put in your 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and then you just like now what? You have the full time for real estate. So what does your daily routine look like now?
Depends on the week. So, I mean, some days I'm knocking, or some weeks I'm knocking, whatever, 3, 4, 5 days a week. So I'll usually cold call a little bit in the morning, probably I don't start cold calling at 9 a.m. So 9 to like 11, I might cold call. Then I'll go knock pre-foreclosures from 11 to 5 roughly, cold call some more. If you have a lot of deals going at one time that you already have under contract, that takes up a lot of time. So like this week I've been dealing with stuff that I have under contract, but it's usually wake up, gym, do some paperwork, either cold call or knock, usually both of them, work on some paperwork for some deals. There's a lot of people that call me, call you to close deals, so doing that really just depends on the week. But it's 24/7 essentially.
Yeah. How do you stop?
Sometimes you just got to stop, I think. Put the phone down. Not everything's super urgent. I mean, there's a lot of people like, hey, I got a seller on the line. Like, can you talk to him? And then you talk to him, and it's like, yeah, I'm not really motivated to sell. Like, I'll sell in 6 months. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
But yeah, you got to keep doing normal stuff. Go do whatever hobbies you do, and just don't be working all the time.
That is hard, especially when you have someone calling. Some of these deals are in foreclosure. They're urgent. They need help. But
yeah, your phone's always blowing up is the problem.
We know if we don't answer it, someone's picking up that deal in an hour. It's like if I can make 15, 20, 30 grand right now, I'm probably going to answer the phone.
Yeah.
So that's why it's hard sometimes. There's people calling us at 9 o'clock at night. We've gotten good in this network now. He said, I have deals under contract. I guess how many of you closed now since then?
I think by myself, I think I'm at 8 that have actually closed. I've had some that you have to terminate because something happens or whatever. How many have we done together? What, 3 now?
3 or so now. Yeah. I can't remember exactly, but we've gotten, so he's doing his own marketing. He's cold calling. He's door knocking. We have some marketing now together that we do. So we split some costs on things that we're doing together. And then if we find a deal that way, we'll split the commission. So we have our own LLC that we're partnered on. And then big thing is this network now. Like I tell people, hey, like we've done this in 6 months. We've closed probably a total of over 20, 25 deals
I'd say so.
Together or between the two of us, and have more under contract just sitting in escrow right now waiting to close. So other people that are new come into this group and they're like, hey, I need help talking to the seller. I need help closing this deal. And that's how we've gotten a lot of our deals now is instead of us just cold calling, door knocking, doing all this stuff ourselves, we have other people bring us the lead, we close it, and we split it with them 50-50.
It's free marketing.
Right. So that's the big value of the network is like join and get around people that are doing it, because doing it yourself takes like 10 times as long. I guarantee you I probably would have nothing right now if I tried to do this all myself. I mean, YouTube's great and watching all that, but like if you can get with someone that's doing it, either work for someone doing it or pay to be in the room. That's what the biggest value is. So now we're closing deals that way. We've got marketing from people cold calling for us, friends on our dialer. I got solar guys knocking doors. We're still cold calling. So it's like trying to maximize the amount of marketing that we're doing to get our phone like blowing up. I mean, right now we probably have a few missed calls just from sitting here, right? But so now you're doing that. I guess loop back to this other deal. So we had this one. What was this? Your second contact ever?
I hadn't even started cold calling pre-foreclosures or anything yet. I didn't even have lists. So I was calling FSBO.com, which is for sale by owner houses.
Right.
And I'm just going through that. I see this fourplex in College Station. I'm like, all right, I need to practice like cold calling.
This is just for practice.
Yeah, I call this guy and actually picks up and he's like, yeah, I'm like kind of trying to sell this place. Obviously, it's on FSBO. Talking to him, figure out at that point, like I knew what sub 2 was. I knew how to do cash, but I knew it wasn't really going to be a cash deal because he didn't have any equity in it. So I talked to him a few times, and then I passed it off to Ben, to you. Somebody I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, so he's just calling. Literally, they're just like, hey, just start with Craigslist and for sale by owner and call people just to get used to calling them. Second person he ever calls fourplex in College Station, and this guy's like, yeah, I'm looking to sell. I need to sell it quick. And then we figure out he didn't know what to do because I don't think a cash offer. He wants like $325, I think he said. And he's like, this thing's worth like $350. Like it needs work. He's not getting $325. So then I got on the phone with him. Turns out like he had, I don't remember exactly, like $270 left on the mortgage, but he was like 30 grand behind. So now we're like light bulb. Like this guy is 30 grand behind on the mortgage. Yeah, he's living in one unit and renting out the others, and he bought it with a VA loan. Kind of like a failed house hack. Right. Yeah, he was trying to house hack it, but now he's running a different business. And he did the whole forbearance thing, didn't pay his mortgage during COVID. Now he's 30 grand behind, but he's sitting on a 3% interest rate. The other places are rented out except for one unit. So he's living in one. So he has tenants already. Right, in two of them. One's vacant and needs some work, and then he's living in the fourth one.
Is it a no-go getting properties with tenants? Or?
Not in this condition, right? I mean, if we're wholesaling it, we're selling it off, they're going to fix and flip it. The tenants are going to need to be out, so they need to be on a month-to-month lease. But in this case, he had leases in place, but we knew we couldn't get it under contract cash because there wasn't enough equity. So now I'm like, and this is where he didn't know about all this yet, right? I've been kind of doing the creative finance stuff, figuring it out. So I get on the phone with him, figure out he's behind. I offer him a subject to offer, meaning, hey, why don't we just catch up your 30 grand? We'll give you a little bit of money and we'll make the loan current. We'll buy it, take over your payments. So now I take over the low interest rate. He was like, yeah, he was open to subject to. He was open to the creative offer, but he's like, I need to get 325. I need to get 25,000 out of this to start my own business. And he wanted to move to the Philippines. But he's like, I need to get 25,000. I'm like, okay, well, we can't do that, but we'll keep in touch. And he's like, okay. Kept every week, like 2 weeks. I was like, hey, like, how's it going? He's like, oh, I want to make a deal. I got to get this much out of it. I was like, I don't think we can give you that much. Another 2, 3, 4 weeks go by. Yeah. And then now he's 35 grand behind. He's 36 grand behind. And now it's like, 2 months later, he hits me up. I'm like, hey, how's everything going? He's like, well, we have a conventional buyer that was coming in with the VA loan, but they couldn't get financing. I need to get rid of this and be gone like in the next 2 weeks. And I'm like, well, he's like, what's the most you can give me? And I'm like, I don't think we can give you more than $5,000. And I was like, after we catch it up, right? He's like, I need 7.5. And I'm like, can we meet in the middle? We met somewhere in the middle. So basically got it under contract 2 months later. This is after text back and forth to buy the house subject to the fourplex. So we're catching up the 35 he's behind. We're giving him like $6,000 and then we're taking over the payments. So we're taking over a 3.25% interest rate. We're taking the deed. And then now we're sitting here like, okay, each unit rents for $800 to $900 a month. Our mortgage is $1,900. That's already $1,000 cash flow. Granted, these things need a little bit of work. So I'm sitting here like, this doesn't make any sense to wholesale, right? We could turn around and wholesale this contract and make a little bit, probably $10,000 maybe. Yeah. But I was like, we want to build some long-term wealth too. So we go in the network, we say, hey, we have this deal, 3% interest rate. Who's in College Station that might want to, fund this or partner with us? And like 3 or 4 people hit us up. We get on the phone with a lady, Debbie. She's awesome. She's like, lives in Bryan. Kids went to A&M, I think. And she's like, yeah, well, why don't we just do it 50-50? So she brings half the money. We bring half the money. She's there. She does the property management. So we pretty much lucked out. We got, we brought half the money into it, which is like $42,000 or so. She's got half the, ownership. We have an LLC together, but went in there, did a little bit of work to the 2 units, and I think they're all. I don't even know. She does a lot of it. We're grateful for her, but
one's still.
Yeah,
they were fixing it up. They just finished it.
So
I
we fixed up the
2.
Yeah, he moved out. We fixed up his. Got rented out for $900. I think he was leasing the other ones for like $750.
They just emailed us if they want to increase the rents.
Right. So we're basically about to have all 4 leased, and then the end goal is like she brought this idea to us, which we never thought of. I'm all for the cash flow, but she's gonna subdivide each unit, right? So they're all 2-bed, 1 bath. We're gonna make each of them their own address, so they're their own condo. Sell it off for say 160, 180, 200, whatever they're worth in 2 years, and now we turn, our mortgage balance, which is going to be around 250. Next year it's going to be right. There's only like 270 left, right? So if we sell these in a couple of years each for close to 200, that's $800,000, and now your mortgage.
You're dividing them and turning them each into their own condo.
Right.
Studio kind of thing.
Yeah, this is just a plan. We could hold on to this for however long, right? But if it makes sense, and we can sell it out of condos and roll that into something bigger, then we just turn
sell those condos, take whatever that's off the mortgage.
Right.
And for these condos, most likely people aren't going to buy them outright, so they're going to have to finance them.
Oh yeah, but you get paid on the, whenever someone gets a loan, you get paid out on the price, right? And the bank gives them the loan, but yeah, they'd be purchasing it.
Directly financed?
Yeah, so we could owner finance it, right? So instead of getting paid out in full, we could put a note on it. So we can say, hey, for each of these units, we want 40 grand down, or probably like 20, 30 grand down. So we get, 80 grand on down payments. We charge them an 8% interest rate. And now we're making,
you basically got the you would have gotten, but you got more out of it.
Right. So now what would be, that's called a wraparound mortgage. Mm-hmm. So our mortgage is $1,900 a month, but now we have a mortgage on each of those for $1,900. You know what I mean? So then you can create cash flow like crazy, and then the big money is in that note that you created. So they have all these mortgage balances that they owe, $150,000 on, and ours is only, $200. We have 4 notes for $150,000. It's like whenever they do refinance or sell, we get paid the difference.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The value in that too is the debt you're creating from them. Basically.
Right. Yeah, you become the lender if you do that. We just got foot in a full circle, but that's called a wraparound mortgage, so owner finance, which I've done. I actually had a deal in Houston that I bought subject to 3% interest rate. I was marketing it to sell owner finance, so I was going to get a 30 grand down payment, charge 8%. So you get your money back that you're into it. You get now larger cash flow, and you're not the landlord. So you pass the deed to them. They own it. They take care of taxes and insurance. You make the spread on the interest payments. But the big thing is the difference in their principal balance and yours. It's a huge.
If you're not the landlord, are you still reaping the tax benefits from that?
No, that's the only downside. Yeah. So if you want the appreciation and the tax benefits, you got to own it, right? If you're doing a wraparound mortgage, selling it owner finance, you're giving them the tax benefits and the ownership. So that's the downside there. But yeah, that deal was crazy. So we got a 4-plex that we own together with her in College Station, and really that's the end game. Is we're not collecting huge cash flow from it. I mean, there is cash flow. We're just keeping it in that account to then repair those and then sell it off big.
And it's the hope. I mean, it's 10 minutes from A&M, so you hope that it gets nicer and nicer.
Right.
Over there.
In the future, you got Mr. Airbnb here.
You could.
Yeah. What's y'all's priority right now? So, I mean, are y'all going for more 4-plex? Are y'all going for more wealth building things like that 4-plex? Are y'all sticking to what y'all know? Like, what's next?
I have gotten, I think tomorrow I close on like my 6th property that I'm holding, but I have gotten to a point where it's like, that requires some management. I'm going to use other people on a lot of it, but like that requires, more management, more capital, which I'm starting to use other people's money for it. But it's like our biggest money making machine right now is wholesaling. So we're trying to automate a lot of that with marketing, other people bringing us leads. And then eventually, like I said, with you, dialing it down to where we're not having to be on the phone all day. So if we can automate this to get wholesale deals every single week, then it's just like that's our, capital. And then we can get more creative on the purchase side of things and focus on like the wealth building stuff, which would be owning it, buying the creative deals subject to, moving into commercial real estate, getting those bigger deals. Yeah. So that's kind of the goal. I think right now.
I mean, for me, it's definitely a lot more wholesaling. Just got to have money. I mean, I've had some deals that I probably should have just kept, but but it's really time sensitive. I mean, their foreclosures take it sub 2, but I'd rather just now, make some wholesale fees and keep that rolling. And then once you have a bigger base, start holding more stuff.
I get bad about that. I'm like, I want to own it. And then I realize I'm like, I could probably made like 5 wholesale deals in the time I spent, wasting on this house I'm buying. Right. But it's trying to balance that for sure. So
speak on some of the times where you look back like, man, I should have kept that. I should have held that.
We're too young for that probably experience yet. But I mean, there's times that we get stuff under contract subject to, right?
If it's a nice house, you should probably just keep it.
Perfect condition. It's like a 25, probably 25,000, 30,000 to get into the deal. It's like, yeah, we could pay for it. That's like now wiping out 30,000 and we could just rent it out. But we have other people in our network that will gladly pay us an extra 10 grand to take it. Right. So like, if it's not easy for us to deal with, it's not local and, it's going to slow us down. It's like, we might as well just wholesale it.
I think that's a big thing too, is having it local. If you can get a local sub 2, that's so much easier.
Yeah. That one I bought in Houston and College Station, we haven't seen, but we have partners over there that are helping us. So that's the big thing in the network is other people are there that have made it useful. Otherwise, I couldn't have done it.
If you don't have boots on the ground, it's tough.
What's the management like? So, obviously this is time consuming. So what's management wise? How much time is this taking in y'all's schedules? The toll on y'all's stress? Talk about that.
Are you talking about management in terms of just on a day-to-day or in terms of like holding the property?
Day-to-day for managing what y'all basically, running a business.
Yeah.
Management for the business and management for everything y'all have going on with the property. So property management, stuff like that.
I mean, I'd say day-to-day it's tough because some days, like yesterday, I think you were the same. Like my phone was just blowing up. I mean, I was on the phone with someone, had 3 people call me. You call one back, the other 2 call. So it's really, you try to have a schedule of, hey, like I'm going to do this before I can even call anyone. Like make sure you get all your emails. Yeah, take care of all that stuff before you can actually go talk to people because it's too early in the morning and then sometimes too late at night. So, I mean, you just got to be organized and figure out, have a file for each deal you have in your email, keep up to date. But it's a lot of just, you're throwing stuff at the wall. Like it's just random.
Some of that's just delegating. I mean, I don't think he's really done that yet, but like you could start to do the same thing where I'm not trying to do all the emails with title work. I still end up having to do it because it's like certain urgent stuff comes up. Having other people do that, it's definitely stressful. You have to wake up and go get our paycheck every time. It's like, yeah, it can be big, but like there could be a month where I'm making like nothing, and then a month you just get 100 grand, and it's like that's awesome, but it's also scary.
You think you're gonna make 20K, and then it's just gone.
Right.
If the deal falls apart or whatever. Yeah. They owe $15,000 that you didn't know about.
Oh yeah, people don't see that. They see all the good stuff that we probably post about, and then it's like I have a deal last 2 weeks ago that was supposed to be a 40 grand wholesale fee I was splitting with someone. Literally, deal should have been closed. Title company was supposed to close it. A hiccup happened. 2 days later, he gets cold feet. He says he's going to stay in his house and he's not going to sell. And we're just like, what? So now we could take it to court and make him sell, but then we're not going to do that. So now we go from making 20 grand to just nothing. It's like, okay, freak out for 10 minutes and then just move on.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one I had a house that we closed on in Arlington a month ago that I just door knocked this guy, and we didn't know that he didn't show up to court for some legal battle, and they fined him $5,000. Then he was way behind on taxes and was behind more on his mortgage. So it went from me making like $16,000 to like $7,000 in a matter of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll take $7,000.
Feels like a loss, but I guess still a gain.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that part gets stressful. I think definitely could get better at managing. We got a lot going on right now, but just trying to dial it in to actually spend time on the things that make us the most amount of money.
Yeah.
So dial back on that one. So what specifically, I'm just curious, where are y'all focused on? You have more experience, so where are you looking at to dial back, get more delegation, get more help? And then you're kind of newer, so where are you kind of like, okay, I can kind of make a move here, not do this as much, spend more time on this?
I mean, I think at some point here I'll probably start doing what he does, where there's no reason for you to be spending a bunch of time messing with title companies and trying to find all these documents and everything. I'm fine with doing it now just because I'm not doing as many deals as he does, so my phone's not blowing up as bad, which is fine. But I think at some point that's really the big thing, is that takes a lot of time. Like, I mean, I've spent hours over the last 2 days for a deal that I have in Corpus Christi, calling 2 different mortgage companies, trying to figure out the deceased person's will and all that stuff. So
yeah, just trying to make sure everything's in place for it to close.
Yeah.
Whereas you could have someone else do that and they get paid a small fee when it closes.
Right.
But yeah, it's hard to do. It's hard to justify sometimes, and then
You also know that you're going to do it right. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
thing. You're like, I know I'm going to do this right. So, but
yeah,
you got to trust other people too.
right. Yep. But that's crazy. So I guess now, cool story on all of those. We already talked about what you're doing now, but I think the same thing. We're pretty much working at it together, and then some of these deals come across. We do it ourselves, and other times we're closing on it and splitting it. So who knows where it'll go? Just keep multiplying it, and hopefully have the business running it on itself.
What's y'all's favorite part of like the game? Because I look at it. I mean, I'm not in wholesaling yet, but like I look at like what I do with social media. I'm like, okay, I can kind of cut back here. Like I know if I do this, like what's y'all's favorite part of the game of real estate?
Getting paid.
Of course.
No, I think we both played very high level sports growing up, baseball mostly. So I think just like competitive nature of like making it yourself and just putting in the work. But just grinding is fun. Like you're getting yelled at on the phone. I think it's kind of funny. Getting yelled at the door.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you get all that, and then you get the one that actually like hits, and you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Definitely funny stories. Looking at everything we see on our CRM, we're getting texts from, homeowners saying "F you." Much worse stuff sometimes too that I probably won't
There's a
say.
lot that I've downloaded the audio and sent to my friends or family,
Yeah.
and they're like, I can't believe that's an actual conversation that you just had.
Yeah.
What's the funniest story, a little short story you can remember?
Oh man.
Oh, I mean, the most recent one I can think of with Alex, he got completely like bamboozled on the phone. I swear.
Oh,
this
I
was
think
like,
it was AI. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he got like straight up AI.
It was
like
wild.
full Fugazi. So he's
Yeah.
on the phone and answers. He's like, "Hey, is this so and so?" Yeah. "Oh, what was that? Yeah. We could play it. It's like 4 minutes and very hard to listen to. Basically, every time he said, "Yeah, I'm calling about the house," this guy's sitting in his room, the owner, and you hear this kid screaming in the background, "Dad!" And he's
I
like,
need
"Sorry,
money."
1 second." He's like, "Dad!" He's like, "I need $100." He's like, "For this game." He's like, "You told me you get it right now." And he's yelling at him, and he's like, "What was that? I'm on the phone." He's like, "Okay, what was it?" Alex like calling about the house. "Dad, Dad!" This kid's yelling and yelling. Basically, for 4 minutes straight, this
I
kid
just wasn't taking no for an answer. I'm like, I'm staying on the phone.
Yeah, the kid's yelling at his dad. We realize it's probably fake because he keeps saying it. He's like, "Okay, here's $100. Shut up until I'm off the call." And then 5 seconds later, "Dad, I need an extra $50 for this game." Gets him $50. "Okay, what do you want?" "You just cost me $150. Like he's yelling at my brother now.
Yeah.
Like just
At the time,
crazy.
I didn't even think about that because it's just like, I'm like, holy
Yeah.
cow, this
And
is the worst kid ever.
Audio recording.
This is all recorded on our phone, our
Yeah,
CRMs.
yeah.
So yeah, we have it in there and we're sending it to our friends. But I'm like, so hard to listen to this. And then there's other people that just cuss you out.
Yeah, I've had some people like threaten me essentially, but I'm like, okay, man, what are you gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
You live in San Antonio.
I'm like, you wouldn't be saying this to me if I wasn't like face to face. Like, you're telling me this over the phone, like Mr.
Yeah.
Tough Guy. But at the same time, I'm like, I get it. If your phone's getting blown up, you're in like the lowest point of your life. Like, I get it. But yeah, you definitely have some situations where people just lose it on you, which I'd rather them take it out on me than take it out on somebody
wife.
else. Because I'm like, I don't care. I'm not taking it personally.
Yeah. It was crazy. Well, cool. Appreciate coming on, even though I knew your whole story.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of cool. So
it's kind of cool, I guess.
it's
yeah.
that's 6 months in. Probably netted 2 to 3 times what he would have made by the end of this year. So
What was my goal? I said in 1 year. I'll see if I'll get there.
I think you were wanting to make what 50, 60 a month.
Yeah, we'll see if I get there. I got till March to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the goal.
We'll see.
We appreciate you getting this set up, Femi.
Yeah,
We'll
thank
get
you.
on the next one, and I'll get someone else in here with the same story. So we've helped about, I'd say, probably 8 to 10 people get their first wholesale deal in the last 6 months. And that's just how a lot of our leads have come, is just new people that want to grind and go find the deals, and then we split it with them. So a lot of people doing the same thing.
Thank you.